Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name's Eric,
And this is Berto.
and this is Totally Biased. All right. Um, we might have been MIA last week, but part of that was just, it's a long walk to Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where we were last weekend.
Yeah, if you can't tell from the background, we are technically float getting right now, if that's a thing. Anyways,
It's
yes,
definitely a thing.
yes, it is definitely a thing. All right, we're just gonna get straight into it. None of this BS. So going straight into the recap from last week, we had about 5, 6 games, big games. We'll just go into the top two. Probably the biggest one most people know about, number 10 USC at 21 Notre Dame. If you got a glimpse of that, is a late night game. And Caleb Williams did not look like Caleb Williams has looked for 2.5 years now. Threw 3 picks. I don't think he's ever thrown more than one, maybe two. And lost by like 18 or something. Notre Dame looked good. That defense looked good. We already knew that USC didn't have a defense, but the fact that he was getting pressured as much as he was, and the O line just couldn't do anything about it, and just made him wreak havoc all the time and have to figure out, plays on the fly and cause all the interceptions was a little bit um, telling, I guess. Notre Dame's a good team. We've been saying that all year. USC is a good team without a good defense. But maybe this is just another Lincoln Riley team. We talked about this the first 4 years he was at OU. He would always lose a dumb game because he had no defense, and then he would make it to the playoffs somehow, and then lose to a good defense and get destroyed. LSU, Bama, Georgia, all these teams. So maybe we're looking at it again. It just looked bad. Didn't look like they had any way to move the ball. And Caleb Williams looks human now. We know we've hyped him up in this podcast of the next coming of Patty Mahomes, right? At Patty Mahomes 2.0, but he doesn't look that good. He's still probably going to be the number one overall pick, but he does look human. So I don't know if you have anything else on this game.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance that everybody is looking at this game and taking away a lot without really diving into it. And what I'm trying to
Okay.
say is, as bad as this game was, I think if you play this game, as we always talk about, if you play this game 10 times, how many
Mm-hmm.
times does Notre Dame win?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Caleb Williams throws 3 picks
Correct.
every game, especially ones that aren't his fault. Like some of these were tipped at the line,
Yeah.
right? When you go and look at this, right? Notre Dame won 48-20,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously, that's a bludgeoning. Except when you go in and look, 5 turnovers to 0, right?
Yes.
Nobody is going to win that game, right? If that's the difference, right? We always, talk about that turnover battle is probably the most important. If you get 5-0'd, it's very unlikely that you're going to win that game. In just about every statistical category, USC was a better team. Like, go down the list at pretty much across the board. USC had more total yards, they had more passing yards, they had 22 less rushing yards than Notre Dame, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It was a lot closer than the final score makes it look, and it's all because of those turnovers. So, I would say don't sell USC down the river just yet. Um, but yeah, this was, I think, eye-opening to some who really thought USC was, sort of a juggernaut. I don't know how many of those people there were, but
Yeah. I don't think, like we said, it was pretty evident through um through just watching the games that USC wasn't a juggernaut and was, like I said, maybe a Lincoln Riley led team like they usually are. I agree. I don't think they win. I don't think they or I don't. I think they USC wins a few games out of the 10. I don't know if they win more than five. If they played again, I get the turnover discussion. We always talk about that. That's the biggest indicator if you win a game. But I mean, yeah, a couple of them are like a tip pass or something. But there was a one specifically that is just atrocious where he's like running left. trying to make a play and just throws it into like double coverage, like there's no receiver reel there, which is a merit to the defense. So not to take away from your point, but yeah, there's some to it that maybe it's not 48-20, but I think the fact that he was frazzled or uncomfortable in the pocket constantly, he had 6 sacks also, did affect obviously his game. I don't think he would throw 3 picks like we said, but I don't know. I feel like this is just the writing of what this team really is, or what we've been saying this team has been doing for a few weeks. Like, and we know they had to go to double overtime versus Arizona, because of the same thing, because their defense couldn't do anything, and then the offense was slightly stopped or kept in their domain. So it went to that extreme. So once they faced a good team, a good defensive team at least, this came out of it. But I don't know. I think it's going to be hard because they're going to play other defensive teams or teams that put up a lot of points, like Washington and Oregon here in a couple of weeks, and Utah, like defensive teams like that. Will they be able to bounce back and win out, beating Utah's, Oregon's, and Washington's? I don't think that anymore. I know we had
Yeah.
them probably as playoff team at the beginning of the season, but with that defense, and if you take this formula of sending everybody and getting to him and making sure you get on the back end, that might be the way to stop this offense. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't if you play this over. They probably won 3, 4, or 5 games, but it may be much closer. But it kind of
Yeah.
shows a way of doing it.
Yeah, I think what you kind of alluded to there, is I think the formula is pretty obvious on how to beat USC at this point. They just aren't dynamic at the running back position.
I was
They
about to say
rely
that.
heavily on Caleb Williams.
No rush
Their
game.
offensive line is atrocious, and their defense is really weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you game plan against a weak defense? That's pretty fucking easy. So you look at the you look at the offense, and it's like their whole game plan is just, and it sounds stupid, but just outscore you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we just put up a billion points?
Yep.
If you, like you said, bring pressure, that O line is going to fall apart, and Caleb Williams will try to do too much and could make mistakes, right? He's still Caleb Williams, but he doesn't have necessarily the same group of receivers that he had last year, right? Addison's gone. He's still got talent, right? Branch is very good, but I think what Notre Dame did was kind of lay down sort of a game plan for other teams to follow. And I think other teams are actually going to be even more well equipped to do this than Notre Dame was. So if you're USC looking at Oregon and Washington, those are going to be brutal games.
Utah this week.
And Utah.
Yeah, Utah's always known for being a good defensive team. So
yeah, and
I don't know if Utah can put up points like USC, but
it helps too, right? USC is undefeated in conference. They were undefeated going into this game.
Conference, yeah.
But you look at who they've played, and this schedule is so backloaded, it's ridiculous. I mean, Notre Dame, Utah, Cal, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA to finish the season, right? Versus
not easy.
Beginning of their schedule, San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, Colorado, and Arizona, right? And they almost lost to Arizona and Colorado.
Yep.
Right. And I understand this seems contradictory to what I was saying, but it's just, I don't know if this is a 48-20, difference between these two teams.
I agree.
Right. When you take out, uncommon number of turnovers and a kickoff return, right? What does this game look like? Right. But
no, I agree. He'd probably be closer, but
I don't think Caleb Williams is even the Heisman leading in the Heisman in his own conference at this point.
Heisman frontrunner, yeah. We can talk about that here in a minute, but yes, I agree.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. But enough about that. We'll talk about the other 2 Pac-12 QBs and teams that potentially have a run for the Heisman and the conference championship and Caleb Williams. It was number 8 Oregon at number 7 Washington.
Oh, I thought you were
Wa-
going to say Stanford, Colorado.
Stanford, Colorado. Well, we'll get to that one in a second. Um, the Oregon versus Washington game, in Washington, this came down to essentially a last second field goal that was missed by Oregon, 36-33. Washington still looked good. Maybe you're foreshadowing of Bo Nix being the Heisman front runner. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe
Maybe
Michael Penis,
might be Michael
being
Penis.
being the front runner. He's still putting up numbers left and right. He's averaging like 400 pass yards or close to it, like over 20 touchdowns and like 2 picks or something. Great game, but does it really change anything? I think it kind of puts Washington in the front runner for this conference, but it doesn't really change anything. This game was projected as a 3-point line. I think to Oregon, Washington won by 3 with a late missed field goal. They could potentially, be some havoc in there if somebody loses to USC or Utah or something and be right here at the end of the year. Do you think it really changes the thing? I know it for the moment puts Washington in the driver's seat, but I think it's still to be known, especially with so many good teams in the Pac-12, like Stanford and Colorado.
Yeah, I think if you play this game 10 times, Oregon wins at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oregon, for the most part, outplayed Washington.
Okay.
I think. I give a slight edge to Oregon. It was at Washington, right? It was
Correct.
in Seattle.
Correct.
The Oregon Ducks, had over about 150 yards extra, right? They outgained Washington 541 yards to 415 yards, right? Big difference. Across the board, Oregon looked like a better team statistically.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed a field goal at the end of the game to lose
Yep.
it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I think what we learned is that these two teams are very, very close.
Yes.
And I just don't think there's a big differentiator. What I do think is both these teams are very, very good.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
really what I learned out of this. Good defenses on both sides. It's weird to say, right? If I told myself
The
a couple
Pac-12
years
with
ago
defense.
that Bo Nix would be probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Oh, you're not on the Bo Nix. You're not a Bo Nix stan
I wasn't a Bo Nix stan.
in
Well, this is what I'm
Auburn?
saying. A couple years ago when he was at Auburn, no,
Yeah,
I
in
was
Auburn.
not.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
Okay.
and you weren't either. Don't even give me
No,
that.
his first wasn't his first game against Auburn, Oregon. Now I gotta look it up for those that know. Comment, but I'm pretty sure his first game as a true freshman starter was against Oregon. I think they made like a weird comeback or something to win. But I thought he was gonna then he played 2 and I didn't. But that's different. That's a different conversation.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. I think they're very good teams, quite possibly great teams. And yeah, it doesn't really change anything. Essentially, it means that this game is a coin flip, right? It's a toss up game. Both of these teams could make the playoffs. There's talks now that potentially the Pac-12 could make 2 teams in the playoffs. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but potentially there isn't a path for 2 Pac-12 teams to make the playoffs. You think about it.
Yeah, technically there's a path for any conference at this point to have 2.
Well, if you go like that, but there's actually way more possibility that the Pac-12 here. Let's put it this way: who's more probable of getting 2 teams into the playoffs? The Pac-12 or the SEC right now? And you probably wouldn't have been saying this also at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say the Pac-12, but
Yeah.
you selectively didn't choose the Big Ten,
No,
right?
well, I'm just saying like the SEC is always like the standard, but yes, the Big Ten also has a very good opportunity if they cannibalize themselves. Iowa could be in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
so, so, but anyways, yes, we diverge again. Oregon and Washington, good game. Hopefully we get to see something of it again later in the season or in the playoffs. Again, but good game there. We kind of both think they're really good teams. I don't think they really dropped or much movement in our rankings, so it's kind of going that way. A couple other games to talk about. Missouri at number 24, Kentucky. Kentucky was ranked at that time. Missouri wasn't. They were both only one-loss teams, and Missouri pretty much took the East by surprise a little bit. I think a lot of people had Tennessee and Kentucky kind of in that second or third place. Missouri lower, and they've been doing pretty well. They have one loss, obviously, to LSU a couple weeks ago. That's why they dropped out. But with this win, a quality win, we would say against Kentucky, they're kind of in that seat as the other team that could dethrone Georgia in the East potentially. Tennessee would be the other team also, but Tennessee looks like they don't really have an offense. Missouri does have a good offense. With I forget their QB's name right now, but Luther Burden also as their receiver, which is really good. Good run
Brady
game.
Cook.
Brady Cook. I was thinking good Cook, and I was like, I don't remember his first name. I was gonna say Connor Cook, but do you know where Connor Cook is from? Michigan State, like 2013 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was gonna be completely off, but Brady Cook, anyways. In Tennessee, their defense looks good. Their offense looks kind of anemic. So if you would ask me right now, who's in the front seat to try to dethrone Georgia, would be Missouri. So over Kentucky, obviously they just beat them. So kind of starting to figure out the East. Georgia is still, the team, but we've seen, unfortunately, I'll get to this in a second, but we've seen them not jump out of the gate. They kind of slugged their way through. It's been some close games here and there, and unfortunately, and you can check the podcast episodes. About 2 weeks ago, I unfortunately said that number 19 on Georgia was the only buddy on that team who did a rip, and I was like, damn, I should not say this. I told you I shouldn't have said it. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured. I am sorry for everybody, all the Georgia fans on. I am sorry. That is my fault. I called it. He is now injured. He might need surgery. He might be done for about 5-6 weeks. He might be back for the SEC championship game. They're saying this is a big loss. This could affect the East in a lot of ways.
It very well could. Um, I don't know
So
if
mad at
I'm a
myself.
believer in Mizzou yet.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I honestly think at this point, Florida might be your best bet to dethrone Georgia.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That's spicy.
I guess. I mean, they're second in the East currently, so I mean, it's not that spicy. Um,
I think that's kind of spicy.
my my thing is Kentucky or Missouri's offense is not spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
The only team that I think is really decent that they've played, they lost to. They lost to LSU. I really don't think
Mm-hmm.
that Kentucky is that great, right? Kentucky was sort
Okay.
of propped up by beating the shit out of Tennessee. Having
And
witnessed
Florida.
Tennessee,
And Florida. And your
okay,
team that you're saying is the best team, Florida.
okay, fine. Florida, give teams a chance to evolve, right?
Okay. Because
I think
Florida,
Florida has evolved since that game. I really just, I don't know. Something about it. I don't really believe in Missouri. The most difficult part of their schedule is the back half, right? Honestly,
yeah,
kind of similar to,
almost everybody's back half is the difficult part of the schedule. It sets up perfectly for a great November for just everybody watching. The Pac-12 is ridiculous in November. Also, the SEC East is ridiculous because to your point, Missouri plays Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida, the three teams are talking about, in within like 3 weeks.
yeah.
It's crazy scheduling.
And yeah, and there's a lot of SEC play left.
Correct.
Um, in fact, all the rest of their games are SEC games.
Well, yeah.
Um, I, they even have to go play South Carolina during October.
You believe in South Carolina?
No,
Okay, well, what are we getting at then?
that was just an excuse to say October.
You just say,
Um,
okay. I was like, what? You're scared of what? Honestly, this might be an upset game. This might be a trap game for Missouri because yes, they have to go play. Is it at home or away? Oh, it's
uh,
it's at Missouri. Okay,
it's at Missouri. Yeah,
that's helpful because then they have to go. Then they have a bye week, which will help, and then they got Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, which Arkansas doesn't matter, but I
yeah.
don't know.
Arkansas has lost 5 straight, so that's not good for them.
But you don't believe in Kentucky at all. That's what you're getting at.
I don't value them very highly. No.
You don't believe in Ray Davis, the running back.
Um, Not
Arguably the
partic
best running back in the nation.
that, and that's fine, right? I just don't think Devin Leary's any good.
Okay, that's fair. You don't believe in their quarterback. That's fair.
No, I really don't. I mean, really, this game was almost a competition to see who could be the worst QB. Um, between Brady Cook and Devin Leary, and Devin Leary really took that crown. So
He's not that great.
50% completion, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he's not that. I didn't say him. I said Ray Davis.
I
What did
know,
he
but
have?
it's if you're looking at a complimentary team, right? Ray Davis, okay, you can run
Was
him
he
all you
out?
want, huh?
Oh no, he was in, right? He played, right?
Yeah, yeah, he had 128 yards.
I don't think he had any touchdowns though.
No,
Did he? No. Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay. You don't believe in Luther Burden, whatever his name?
I think Luther Burden is good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to say, as a complete package,
Okay.
what are these teams, right?
Okay.
You're asking me about individual players.
Yeah, no, I'm just well, yeah, because you're saying that you think Kentucky's not as good and therefore Missouri's not as good. That's what you're getting at.
Pretty
Their
much.
win isn't not mean that much to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So what I'm saying is I'm trying not to prop Missouri up on a win over 24 team in the country, Kentucky. If I
Okay.
don't personally think Kentucky deserves to be number 24.
No, that's fair. I get that. I'm saying I'm
That's
going
what I'm going for.
off of what we know right now. I think they're the second best team in the East. Georgia would probably be the first best, but you could argue that even Missouri's better than them right at this moment, right? Like we talked about the scheduling, so we'll see. But arguably, they might be the best team in the East at this moment, like today. That might change on Saturday when they lose to South Carolina, and then all this goes to the water. But that's what we're getting at right now. We thought Tennessee was going to be good. They might not be good. They might have a difficult game on Saturday and look like trash. And Florida is getting better to your point, but they, started out with the loss to Utah. At that moment, we thought they weren't that good. So interesting. Okay. Um, couple more games. Miami lost to UNC. I don't really have much to say about that. Miami's falling apart. After that game that they couldn't kneel it, they haven't been able to do jack. UNC still humming along with Drake May. Anything else on that one?
Um, Devontae Walker, three
Devontae Walker.
TDs, 132 yards
There you go.
on 6 catches.
That's pretty good.
Finally letting him play.
I was gonna say they freed his ass, so finally, fucking freed him.
And he just goes out there and lights up.
Yeah. Well, we knew that also. We were like, this is so straight up BS that they fucking cuffed him. So now that they bring him back, we see it.
Yeah,
And
I think they're just a very, across the board solid team.
yeah,
Right. Like in my head right now, it's sort of like a San Francisco 49ers vibe, right?
oh, what?
Like
That's
just
an
like
interesting take.
just across the board solid, or even you could even say like Philly, right? Like both those teams,
Okay.
like I wouldn't say have all-star players, like top 5 players at any one position, except D-line maybe for Bosa. That's about it.
What? Well, on 49ers. I was like, on the Eagles, you don't think Jalen Hurts a top 5 QB?
I do
You
not.
don't think AJ Brown's a top 5 receiver?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think he's in maybe 10, but okay, that's fair. No, because 49ers Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback. Like, no questions asked. McCaffrey's for sure a top 5
Okay,
running back.
fair.
For sure. George Kittle, it's for sure a top 5 10 a tight end.
This year,
I'd have to look up the stats, but I think so.
Also, Christian McCaffrey is still in the Panthers to me, so
That's okay. If that's how we do it, you just make shit up. Okay.
He's a forever Panther.
He literally has a touchdown in like 14 straight games or something.
Does.
Like what? Dude's crazy good.
I would be honest, I forgot about him. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 49ers last year. How about that?
Okay, whatever.
But anyway,
Trent
I just
Williams might be the best O lineman in the game right now.
that's also true. Yeah. So if you
So you
don't
take out
include Trent
Nick
Williams,
Bosa,
Christian
Trent Williams, and
McCaffrey,
Christian McCaffrey,
maybe even Debo Samuel and
Devo,
Nick Bosa
George
and
Kittle.
Warner, um,
Yeah,
then
Fred
maybe.
Warner is one of the best linebackers in the game. Safeties. Oh my god, I hate you. This is a horrible
Yes,
argument.
that fell apart. I'm just since I edit this, I'm gonna edit that out. We're just gonna
All
skip past
right,
that. They're
all
just
right.
a very solid team.
No,
That's
they are a
just
very
where I'm
solid team. Yeah.
so and Drake to the point where Drake May doesn't even need to have, all-star numbers every week for
Yep.
them to do well, right? And
Yep.
win.
Yep. I agree. They're also in the front row seat or whatever to try to get to the ACC championship game. So we'll
They're
see.
like the opposite of USC.
Oh, I like that one better.
There you go. See, we'll include that one,
I like that one better.
right? USC, Caleb Williams has to put up
Be the
Heisman
guy.
numbers
Yep.
to
Yep.
for them to win the game. Drake
Yep.
May doesn't need to.
Doesn't.
So, hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
That
All
works
right.
out better.
Way better. And then the last game, if we want to talk about it, A&M at Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. A defensive juggernaut of a game. None of these teams really had any offense, to be honest. Specifically, pass game. None of these teams had any pass game. We kind of knew this from A&M a little bit. The backup QB Max Johnson wasn't doing that well. O-line didn't help him out, but also Joe Milton, as everybody has joked about for decades now, it seems like, can throw it a million yards, but can't hit a guy with a 7 yard in route, right? So we kind of saw that dude couldn't do anything. His receivers also didn't help him. There's a couple of drop balls. The run game, though, was able to rack up a million yards, and they won it by 7, 6, whatever.
7.
So 7. So yeah, Tennessee, Texas A&M after now having 2 back-to-back losses against A&M and against Alabama and Tennessee. And Tennessee looking all right, but Tennessee now has to play Alabama. So these 3 teams will have played each other in the last 3 weeks. A&M lost by 6 to Alabama, and then they lost by 7 to Tennessee. So by the transitive property, Tennessee should win by 1. Right.
There you go. And that's
Right.
official.
Yep.
That's official. So
Yep.
if, make sure that you internalize that when making any, betting or anything like that.
Picks. Yes.
So yeah, what a rough game. I mean, it's kind of amazing because like if you go back and actually watch that game, you could make an argument that both teams should have won by like 20. Right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say you could make the argument they both wanted to lose it.
They did both want to lose it. That's the problem. Like you mentioned the drops, right?
Yeah, man.
The drops for the Tennessee receivers was so notable across the whole game. I mean, there was one where it was just a lob to a receiver and it hit him like perfectly in the hands, over the shoulder, no defender within like 10 yards, and the guy just like dropped it on the ground.
Yep.
And it happened multiple times throughout the game. The receivers just dropped so many balls. Tennessee could have won that game by like 20 if these receivers had caught all these passes.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
Yep.
However,
Brew McCoy is felt there. His absence is felt.
His absence is definitely felt.
Yeah.
A&M's O-line is atrocious. Max Johnson was pressured, I think, 25 times in like 39 dropbacks or something like that.
It was bad. I laughed because I was trying to figure out how to describe how bad they were, and I remember Shannon Sharp once said it. They couldn't stop block a parked car with an Uzi, which is so absurd a statement. That's what I was thinking. But anyways,
wait,
yes,
you said we couldn't block a parked
car with an Uzi. Like they couldn't stop a block car with an Uzi. Block anybody. It was a ridiculous phrase. Anyways, that's what I was laughing about. Go ahead.
You couldn't stop molasses in winter.
Yeah, exactly. Like something like ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Max Johnson was constantly on his ass.
So bad.
The O-line got no push. The run game could never get established.
Non-existent.
And somehow the A&M offense was still better than Tennessee's,
Yep, exactly.
which, as bad as Max Johnson played, Joe Milton, again, this was a competition to see who was the worst quarterback out there, and hard to say.
It's
But
hard to, yeah, who would you
but
take as the worst quarterback that day? Jeez.
I mean, Joe Milton went 11 for 22 for 100 yards.
Yeah, I don't know how he got 100 yards.
Don't ask me. It was bad. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, this was a game of hidden yardage. A&M's kicking game was not very good. Um, there was, punting problems. Again, game management, clock
Time
management were
management. Yep.
issues. Um, Here's something interesting: is the big brain play of, um, well, anywho,
Okay.
there's I'm there's just a lot.
Yes. There's a
There's a
lot.
lot going on. I was gonna bring up something from the prior week, in terms of clock management, just because it reminded me of the, take a safety,
Hmm.
and punt it away.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's a big brain move. We thought of it.
We
Jimbo
thought
should
of
have.
it. We thought about it because they were, to preface, they were like at the 1 yard line. They had to punt, so we were like, well, this guy has been punting like jack shit all game. Don't punt it. He's gonna get like a 20-yard punt, which he did. It was like 38 yards or something. And so we were like, you said it first, and I was like, yeah, that would should we do whatever. But I guess whatever. Take it out of the end zone, take the 2 points, like give away 2 points, and punt it at the 20 or 25. Actually, you can decide. I think I said about it last week, but you can decide on a safety. I learned that last week that you can decide to punt or kick. So maybe then you put Randy Bond to just kick that shit as far possible, and then you don't have the punt return for touchdown. So instead of -7, you're -2. You still give it to the Joe Milton led offense, so maybe your defense can stop him. You don't end up with 9 because that's a risk. You take the 2 that could be 9 instead of the straight 7, which happened because he punted it and took it back as easy as possible.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you need to be, hey, is this offense that doing anything against our
They
defense? And
weren't
at that point,
exactly,
no.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
anyway, back to current times. Yeah.
Yep.
I think, and in our discussions with Tennessee fans, equally awful. Both
Yep.
teams. I think more concerning, for Texas A&M is the last 3 games they have scored 1 field goal in each of the last 3-game, third and fourth quarter combined, right? So in the second half of the last 3 games, 3 points total for each game, which is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Maybe Bobby Petrino should be on the field. That way he doesn't have to take the stairs and like get all the way to the locker room and then be out of breath. And then they have to go back out on the field or something. Like maybe he just doesn't have enough time, and maybe he should figure that out. Because right now he is, yeah, he's not doing so hot at halftime.
Yeah, that's the part of the problem. Also, I know we're getting this way into this, but yes, also the clock management, time management. Once again, we got the ball in this at this end of the first half and just let the time run out. Then you don't do adjustments at halftime, like you said. I don't know if Bobby's just not in there to make the adjustments because he got to go all the way down or what's he's doing. But it seems like in the second half, it's just almost a different team. I mean, the O line is still crap either way, but it's almost like hard to watch how bad the offense runs in the second half of the past 3-4 games.
Yeah.
It's just bad.
I think it's also evident too, right? If you don't know, who the fuck are you and why you listen to this podcast? Um, this is obviously A&M's backup quarterback, Max
Mm-hmm.
Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's painfully obvious that Connor Wegman, the starter at the beginning of the season, covered up a lot of sins from that offensive line. His quick release and ability to kind of get the ball out fast in terms of processing and going through reads made the offensive line look a lot better than it was. And I think we're
Yeah,
really seeing that now.
yeah, we're really seeing that for sure. I don't know if he would be the savior right now, but I think it'd be different. At least it would look much easier potentially. But
Yeah. You and I talked about it. A&M's offense, they make it look really hard.
yes,
Like like you watch like Washington or Oregon or some of these other teams and they move the ball and it not that it's easy, but it doesn't look like
hmm
it's extremely difficult. And
yeah,
A&M, it looks so fucking hard. Like they
yes,
make things look difficult. They have too
yes,
much talent for that. And they have too
yep,
much talent. They're paying too much in terms of offensive minds and the offensive staff for
yes,
that to happen.
yes, yes. I agree entirely.
Anywho,
Anywho, so those were the games last week. I don't know if you have any other things you want to bring up on any games.
oh, it's a good question.
I think those
Um,
are the main games. I mean, I
yeah, I think
think
that was some of the big
Michigan
takeaways.
destroyed whoever, Penn State destroyed whoever, Ohio State destroyed whoever, Florida State won. Yeah, they beat Syracuse. They all destroyed their teams. Like a lot of teams just did what they were supposed to do.
I think one of the things maybe to talk about is really quickly that what is Alabama at this point?
I think they're good. I think they're for real.
Even though they basically collapsed in the second half against Arkansas.
Yes.
All right, there you go. Heard it here first.
Heard it here
Alabama
first.
is good, just slightly better than Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, not to end it like that, but Arkansas also is on a 5 game losing streak, but they play all these teams pretty tough, pretty close. A&M and LSU, and I think even Ole Miss. I think they always play close games, even though they can't win, which sucks for them. But whatever.
Yeah, sucks to suck. All right, let's get in to our
So on
mid-season awards.
the next segment, okay, mid-season awards. You want to kick it off? You want me to kick it off?
I would like you to kick it off.
All right, we're gonna redo our Heisman votes now that we've seen about 7 games for everybody, some 6, but mid-year about their awards. If you remember, we had 2 picks each. Don't know if you remember your picks, but it was like your pick and then like your kind of like dark horse pick. I think if I remember correctly, my dark horse was Travis Hunter, which looked pretty good at the beginning of the season. Then he got injured. Then Colorado's lost like 3 different games and can't hold a 29-point lead at halftime. So that kind of fell through. And I think my other pick was Marvin Harrison Jr., if I remember correctly. But I also remember I had said, can I just take anybody but Caleb? Just anybody but Caleb. Like Caleb Williams versus the field. Just give me the field. Caleb Williams is still in it. I know we talked about it earlier, how bad he looked. Probably the worst game he's played since he was like in the 5th grade or something, right? Dude's been a rock star since he was born pretty much. But he's still probably top 2 or 3. We foreshadowed a little bit of it. I think the front runner right now for me, and I think probably for you, is Michael Penix Jr. right now. The dude is just lights out. That offense, like we were just saying, A&M offense is makes it so hard to watch, makes it seem so difficult. That offense, when it's humming, it's just easy passes, just left, right, move the ball, get whatever you want. Like whenever he wants to turn it on, it's almost impossible to stop. So I think right now, Michael Penix Jr. is the front runner. But if I had to take a second pick, I think it might be Dylan Gabriel, OU quarterback.
Fuck.
What? Damn it! Is that your pick? Damn it.
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
my third pick would be Bo Nix, but I think that's almost everybody's also. So
Fuck. No.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think right now it's a obviously at the beginning of the season, our picks are going to be much more different because it's a lot more projection. Right
Yep.
now, we've had half the season to kind of get an idea. Pretty much by now, you can sort of get a feel for who's going to be up there.
Not to say that this is decided because like we said, there's a these conferences have backloaded games, so you could get a surprise.
Yeah, what you're basically doing here is if somebody were to do what they've done the first half of the season for the second half, right? Where are they going to be?
Yeah.
I think Michael Penix, if he keeps up what he's doing right now, I think he wins it. And I don't think it'd be that interesting. Um, like right now, he's just looking the best.
Yep.
Um, JJ McCarthy,
Oh, don't do this.
I'm just telling, is number 2 in the odds, right?
Really?
He is number 2 in Heisman odds, right? Michael Penix is number 1, right? JJ
Okay.
McCarthy is number 2, followed by
Who's number
Dylan
three?
Gabriel.
Okay, Dylan Gabriel. Where's
Yep.
4 or 5?
It's Dylan Gabriel, Jordan Travis, Jalen Daniels, Drake May, and Bo Nix.
Oh wow, they don't have
And
Caleb
then
in that.
Caleb Williams.
Okay, I still have Caleb like 3 or so, 4, 3, 4, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy for me is a little bit, and I know you're high on Michigan because the alien would have him number 1, which I did go talk to the alien. Sorry to digress.
Yeah.
At that point, they were not number 1, even though you were adamant that they were. They were like 4th or 5th.
Who was number
Actually,
1?
I got to pull it up because the alien texted me. I can find it. I can
Oh,
find it. Give me,
he texts you?
yeah, he texted me. Give me like 30 seconds.
All right.
I will say,
How many people text you? 30 seconds to go find a text? It's a long time. Also, he has a phone? That's how you communicate?
well, no, I don't know what he uses. It just comes up as a text to me. So,
Okay, interesting. Huh.
okay.
Yeah.
It was at the time they were 4th. Oklahoma was number 1.
Okay.
Oregon was number 2. OU was 3. Oh no, they were 5th. USC was 4, and Michigan was 5. All prolific offenses, so it made sense. Since then, obviously USC has lost, Oregon has lost, Michigan hasn't, OU hasn't, but Oklahoma hasn't. But anyways, now they are number 1. So I guess to your point, because they are so high and the alien has them number 1, you think it makes sense for JJ McCarthy to be the second in command, or right there for the Heisman?
Yeah, I mean, so my thing is, and we talked about this, right? The Michigan schedule is as bad as USC in terms of first half versus second half. Michigan has played no one.
Nobody.
It is
Nobody.
horrible.
Yes.
Horrible. Their schedule is so boring.
Yes.
And to be fair, there's only 2 teams essentially on their schedule that, have a pulse. And those 2 teams are very good. So we're going to get a good idea,
Okay.
what this team is. But until then, yeah, he's blowing people out, right?
Okay.
And if you listen to Harbaugh, he said that JJ McCarthy is the best quarterback to go through Michigan.
Oh my God, stupid.
And you might be wondering, well, where did Harbaugh play football?
I know where he went. The people know.
And you might be wondering,
The people know.
You might be wondering what position and where did John Harbaugh, play? You might be wondering, and you can
I
go look
hate that
that
you're
up.
doing this so much. This is so stupid. For the people that don't know, which hopefully the people know on this podcast, he did go to Michigan.
Mm.
And he was a quarterback. No
This
shit.
is news to me.
Oh my gracious. So he's saying he was better than him whenever he was here. Great. Who gives a flying fuck? He's not that good. I am gonna say he's not that good. Like
All
your
right.
point, he hasn't played anybody. There's
He
no
has
reason
not played anyone.
to have him second. Like at that point, you might as well have like Kyle McCord, the Ohio State, or Drew Allar, the Penn State. Like they've also done nothing, and they've also put 1,000,000 points up. Where's Michigan? Michigan hasn't done anything. I don't get it. I don't get that one. That's the only one. The other ones you said make a little bit more sense, like the Bo Nix,
The only
Travis.
the only thing with Michigan is they are just absolutely demolishing every team.
Yes, and they are now number 1 in the A.
Every team.
Bro, also, if you're just going to go off of what Michigan's head coach says about his own team, which every head coach says they have the greatest quarterback or the greatest players always. But also, he said he would not be surprised that in next year's draft, the 2024 draft, they break the record for most players drafted. I don't say, I don't think that's like way out there, but of course he says stuff like that. He's the coach for the team. What is he gonna say? Nah, my QB's trash. Like I don't. Wait till he actually plays a decent defense. I just want to see that.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean,
Who did you have? Do you remember your two picks for your dark horse and your just not Caleb pick? I thought you had Brock in one of them. I don't know which one.
I did have Brock. Yeah, he was my dark horse.
Okay, which is unfortunate because of what I said earlier. I'm sorry, Georgia fans.
Well,
Sorry,
and your dark horse was
Travis Hunter. I said it.
Travis Hunter, and he also got hurt for a
Yeah,
while.
I said it. I said it. He was Travis, and then he can't. They can't keep a 29.0 lead at halftime.
Yeah,
I don't. You don't remember the other pick? Okay.
I don't.
Okay, that's fair. Um, we have our picks now. Michael Penix.
Michael
You have
Penis.
JJ McCarthy second. I have Dylan Gabriel, maybe Bo Nix. So Caleb in the mix. I think Caleb can figure it out and still win it. So
It's going to be a quarterback award again. Like
yeah,
there's just not another skill position player that's really showing out right now that isn't connected to a quarterback that's going to win it over them.
I was gonna say, is there any odds on who would be the non-quarterback on the odds if you have the odds up? So
Um, the first
like the highest odds to win it that isn't a quarterback because we just said like 8 quarterbacks.
Brock Bowers, but
But
that's not going to happen. And then Travis Hunter,
oh, there you go. Okay,
Blake
Gilmore
Corum,
Shadur.
Blake
Oh, Blake
Corum,
Corum. There you go. He's doing all right. He's doing all right.
and then Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, he could do something. Like these players could still do something. Like if Ohio State beats Penn State this weekend and Marvin Harrison has 8 catches for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns, man, he might move up real quick. You know,
Bro, I don't know what. Uh,
weird odds.
there are betting odds out there for Arch Manning
Still,
to win the Heisman. Yep.
and this isn't at the beginning of the season.
This
Okay,
is plus 20,000
right now,
right
man, that
now.
might be a steal. Damn,
And Nico,
I am in La Via.
yep,
I'm
they're
Via.
projecting he's going to take over the starting position and win the Heisman for plus
Seven
10,000.
7 games in.
Also, Brew McCoy is right above him at plus 15,000. Anyway.
All right, all right. Well, we had fun with that.
We
You want
did.
to try your CFP picks, mid-year picks? We're gonna update what we had discussed at the beginning. Now that we know 5, 6, 7 games in, I don't remember exactly my picks. I think I have them somewhere. Do you remember your picks exactly? I think I had Georgia 1, Michigan 2, USC 3, and then Bama 4. I think that's what I had.
That sounds plausible.
What were your picks? You
I don't
know,
remember. I think it was similar. Georgia
yeah, I
would have
think.
been number one. Bama
Yep,
was 3.
yep,
I think I had Ohio State at 2.
and USC.
Um, and I might have had Texas.
I think I had Texas 5.
Yeah, that could be it. Anyway, this is not good radio. Um,
All right,
let's just talk now, right?
let's just go
All
right
that
now. What we
matters
got?
is our current rankings because that's really all that ever matters, right?
Are we going
Not
with
what
our
you say
top
in the past.
12s then? Essentially,
I don't think
that's not the same
that's the
thing.
same
It's not
thing.
the same thing.
So
Okay,
no,
no. Okay, okay.
no.
We'll go then. Who we think in 5 weeks from now will be in the playoffs? All right. Want to start 1 through 4 or 4 through 1? Back and forth each. What do you want to do?
Let's go 4 through 1.
4 through 1. All right. All right. All right.
You
Who's my
going or
fourth pick? Who's my fourth team? Give me a second. Give me a second. My fourth pick. I have 1 through 3. I'm trying to think of 4 right now.
well, do you want to go 1 through 4 then?
Sure. Let's do 1 through 4.
All
All
right.
right. Number 1, I think it will be
Michigan, correct.
Florida State.
Michigan.
Florida State. I mean they're both good picks. I just think Florida State will have. I mean they're still winning. They're going to be undefeated. Not a lot of competition from them still. I don't see how they lose. I think they're going to go and then they'll be number one. What we
Michigan's
got
my
for
number
Michigan?
one.
Okay. Number two, Washington.
Number two is also Washington for me.
Okay. Yeah. Like we said, they have the Heisman contender right now. That offense is being ridiculous right now. So they're two.
And they're
Number
past their toughest test so far.
so far. So far.
The only
Yet.
thing is there isn't a lot after this. That's that
Fair.
much harder.
Fair.
The only reason why I say that so far is if there's a rematch
Don't they
with
do they
Oregon.
play USC or no?
Yeah.
That's a good
Good
game.
question.
If they play USC, that's a good matchup. I don't remember if they do if they're on the same division.
No,
Anyways,
they do not.
number three. Oh, they don't.
No.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Wait, 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 wait. Anyway, continue.
Okay. Go to number three.
Mhm.
Number three will be Michigan.
Okay. 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 I see you. I see you.
What do you got for three?
Um, I'm gonna put in Florida State there at
Okay.
number three.
So you have one and three. We have switch so far.
Mhm.
Probably same reasons. And then two, we have Washington. So in the fourth pick, last team to get in will be Texas.
Ooh. I'm gonna say Georgia.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I did leave Georgia out.
That you did. Georgia
I
is
left.
undefeated. There's not a lot that scares me in that on the rest of their remaining schedule. Um, so you know, until they prove me wrong, I
No,
would
that's
say
fair.
I was going between Oklahoma
I
as
was going
being
between
the next one, not
Oak
Texas.
was going between Oklahoma and Texas, but I think they'll both win out, and then Texas is going to be Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, and then just that name brand is going to get them in.
But if there's an undefeated Georgia sitting there,
No, no, incorrect. Yeah, I'd be wrong on that one.
yeah,
Yes, yes. If it's undefeated, like everybody's going, it would be Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State.
yeah,
Yeah,
be a very interesting matchup.
it
Matchups be kind
would
of
be
fun.
very interesting. It would be very interesting matchups. Very different teams. I don't believe in this Georgia team yet. Like I know they keep on winning, but they seem like they're just struggling along. The Brock Bowers injury is, I think, a big injury. So I could see them lose on the way. And then if they lose on the way and then they lose to Alabama, they're not getting in with two losses. If
Yep,
Texas is a one loss or if OU is a one loss, right?
yep,
So that's where I look at it. But I agree, their schedule sets up easy for it.
yeah.
But
I think really it's me saying that I think the Big 12 is going to struggle
mm, okay.
to get in. I think in certain sense there is a path for two Big 10 teams or two
hmm
Pac-12
I was about to
teams
say that. Yeah.
um, over a one-loss conference champ Big 12 team.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so
Because yeah,
you
we
know,
didn't talk about like we both said Michigan, but what if the Ohio State or Penn State are right there? Like, what if one of them beats the other one? Like, what in these weird scenarios where they all have a loss, which I don't know how that would work if they did the triangle thing, I guess. And one of them or two of them didn't go to the Big 12 or the Big 10 championship game and still got in. That could happen.
yeah. I mean, you could look at Michigan, Ohio State at the end of the year,
Hmm.
right? And let's say Michigan continues to blow every single person, every other team out, right? Which
They probably will.
probably will, other than Penn State. Let's say they even blow Penn State out, right? and Ohio State blows Penn State out. It comes down to this huge matchup at the end of the year at Michigan, and Ohio State loses by 3, right?
Yeah.
Or in overtime or something, right?
Yeah,
Basically
yeah.
signifying that these two teams are nearly equivalent.
Yeah, essentially like what
Um,
we saw Oregon, Washington, like something like that happens. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think you keep both of them out at that
Yeah.
point. I think you do a Michigan 1 and an Ohio State 3,
Yeah.
and if anything, they'll rematch in the national
National
championship.
championship.
I
Yeah.
think that's
No, I
what you
agree.
do.
I agree. I agree. I think it's way more probable that like we said at the beginning, Pac-12 can get 2 in versus SEC. SEC is just down this year. Um, that's why I was lower on Georgia, but there is still a path for Georgia or even Bama potentially to get in. But okay. Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Our favorite segment,
Our top 12.
also that one. Second favorite segment. Let's
You want
just
to just
run
go
through
to
it real quick, real
real
quick,
quick?
real
All right,
quick.
go 1 FSU.
Michigan,
Damn it, this is what we did a second ago. 2 Washington.
Penn State,
Okay, you're higher on Penn State. 3 Oregon.
Washington,
Okay. 4 Ohio State.
Oregon,
Okay. 5 Oklahoma.
Ohio State,
6 Texas.
Notre Dame.
Oh, Notre Dame's high for you. Okay. Do you think Notre Dame? Okay, before King has a path to the playoffs still.
No,
Okay, I agree. That's why I have them lower. 7 Duke.
Oklahoma,
8 UNC.
Texas,
Okay. 9 Penn State. There comes Penn State for me.
Bama,
10 Bama for me.
Florida State.
Ooh, Florida State 10.
Yeah,
Okay. USC 11.
UNC 11,
Okay. Notre Dame 12.
Oregon State 12.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And I think
Wait, so do none of us have Georgia still in the top 12?
they're 13 for me,
Okay,
which,
they're 13 for me also. Yeah.
and again, for the people who are new, understand that our playoff picks and what we just went through are not equal.
Nope.
And there's a reason for that. Because the
There's a
playoff
lot
picks,
of football to play.
there's a lot of football to play. The playoff picks are what we project the teams to be and what their records and everything to possibly look like. Whereas this is really more focused on what they've showed us so far. That's all.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Okay. Now into our favorite segment.
There we go. We're back.
How do they know?
How do they know?
Right. For those of y'all who don't know, which it's funny that I said that. Eric tries to pick lines on the big games. There's another caveat, little interestingness to this one. We'll get into that second. But we pick lines. He has to be within plus or minus 3 on each side to get a point. And then obviously we also just bet 5 games. We get $1,000 to put on these 5 games and pick. Currently, oh, we didn't talk about it. Yeah, last week we didn't do bets because we spent too much money going to.
Right, well, yeah, we spent all of our the money that we would have spent on bets flying to Knoxville.
But the week before that, we had something awesome happen.
Not awesome happen. I think we should go right into the bets for this week.
No, we gotta talk about it. That I was undefeated, other than the A&M pick, and only because I had said because I'm consistent. I said A&M would beat Bama at the beginning of the year, so I picked them. But I had no actual conviction to that. I only thought it was gonna be opposite, but I was just keeping consistent. The more surprising part, though, not me going 80%, is I think, and we might have to check this. Stat guy might have to check this. GM, if you're listening, check us. I think we have never had an offer happen. I think. And we had it last week, 2 weeks ago. Somebody went 0 for 5, just to be over for those people. 0 for 5. He had 0 correct picks. Honestly, much harder to do than just getting 1. But anyways, that means I'm ahead by $50 because of that.
I was perfect.
You were
on
so
the week.
far ahead.
I was perfect on the week, dude.
Oh right, yeah. It's honestly harder to do than potentially getting all 5 right. So, how do they know? I don't know.
I'm so good.
But let's just get right into it. The first game, SEC matchup, the third Saturday in October. This game was one of a classics game last year. Number 17 Tennessee at number 11 Alabama. It is now in Tuscaloosa, not in close to where we are showing here. Um, different teams completely different teams. Last year this game was like 52-49, last second field goal. I doubt it hits 50 between both teams. So,
Yeah.
what is your line?
Yeah. So there are a lot of questions for both of these offenses. Um, both of them have extremely good O lines. I think it's a battle between two quarterbacks, both with a JM initial,
Oh, nice,
who
nice,
can't
nice,
throw the
nice.
ball.
Correct.
Except Jalen Milrow is going to walk into this game with a better arm talent, at least maybe not talent, right? Because talent is what you could do. Jalen
Yeah.
Milrow is the better passer,
Okay.
right? Which is rare air for him to be in. Um, I think Alabama at home is going to just out talent what Tennessee has. Tennessee offense is horrible. And without playing an offense as anemic as Texas A&M, I don't think they're going to get it done. I'm going -9.5 for Alabama.
And the line is Alabama -9.5.
Mm,
What a get right there.
mm,
What a get.
mm.
Uh, yeah, I agree. This Tennessee's team is not what it was last year. Also, this Alabama team isn't, but yeah, to your point, that JM is better than Joe Milton, who can throw it 80 yards, but doesn't matter. All
Yep.
right, moving to the next game, an ACC powerhouse game. Number 16 Duke at number 4 Florida State. Like we talked about, we are both high on Florida State to make the playoffs. Duke is doing very well, still also undefeated. No, wait, one loss. Duke, but the bigger thing is Riley Leonard being potentially out might sway this. I have yet to hear if he will play or won't play. What do you think the line is?
Yeah. Duke has a pretty good defense. Um, Florida State does as well. Great defensive line at Florida State. I think that's going to kind of keep the score from inflating too much and keep it a little bit closer game. And especially being at Florida State, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
8.5 to Florida State. It's hard
The
to say, like
line,
with you know, quarterback out, you don't really
yeah,
know,
it's
but
hard to go off of that. Yep. The line is Florida State by 14.
wow.
I don't know if that's the Riley Leonard effect, but I also think it's a little bit high just because, to your point, that Duke offense is one of the tops in the nation. So it's hard to score even that much on them. But interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, moving to the Pac-12 of the West Coast. Number 14 Utah at number 18 USC. USC coming back, trying to get a bounce back game after losing to Notre Dame last week. Once again, USC with a powerhouse that is Caleb Williams and can do whatever he wants essentially, versus the Utah defense, which we know is stout every year in, year out. And to bring up a point, they have beaten Caleb twice. They beat him twice last year. So just FYI, what do you think is the line?
All right. Talking like we talked earlier, right? How can you game plan against USC? Um, bring the house. I think Utah is going to be able to bring the house.
Okay.
Um, I don't see bounce back
Mm,
potential in this roster for
okay.
USC.
Okay. They're at home.
They're at home. I'm going to give Utah 3.5 points.
Utah -3.5.
Mm-hmm.
It is USC -6.5. Going the other way on this one. I did not think you were going to go Utah on this one. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
originally had it 3.5 to USC, but then I chose to go with Utah.
Okay. Okay.
It's not how that normally works, but yeah, I was. Um,
Yeah, because a
yeah.
3 is usually to the home team, but okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. This is a new twist on this game. It is an interesting over under. We haven't done over under this year. We do it every once in a while, just if it's a really good over under. It is Minnesota at number 12 Iowa. Am I reading that correctly?
Are you reading that correctly?
1 second. I think that is a typo. I think Iowa is 21, 24, 24. Why did I put 12? At 24, Iowa. Um, this over under, if you is set here because it is just very interesting. Both teams don't have good offense. If you didn't know, Iowa won last week against Wisconsin, 15-6. They are now the front runners to win the Big Ten West, East. Is it West? No, it's the Big Ten Heroes and Legends, right? Whatever, the one that doesn't have Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State, and Ohio State. It will play one of those teams in the Big Ten championship potentially. Iowa is ranked number 24. What do you think the over under is on this game?
It's gotta be fucking low. That's the real fucking situation.
Yeah, that's the only reason it's on here.
I've got a number.
Okay.
I don't think it's low enough.
Okay. So you would take the under on your own number right now?
I think so, but I don't. Iowa scoring over 22 points is a miracle.
Okay.
Iowa's defense is good, right? Minnesota is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It can't be what it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. I really think that you're looking at a 23-20 type game. So I'm going 42.5.
It was 15-6 last week against Wisconsin.
You heard me. You heard me.
All right. Well, 42.5. It is, as of I think Tuesday, 32.5.
I get 10 points either way, right?
Yeah, 10 points either way. It's an over-under, so we give you a little bit more, but
yeah,
32.5.
7.
And I think I saw it this morning or earlier today at 31.5.
I told you I thought it was too high.
I don't know if 31.5 or 32.5 has to be like one of the lowest over-unders I've ever seen in college football. That is,
yeah. We talked about 5.5 being like the lowest that we saw ever. And
32. And I think it's gotten lower to like 31. So yeah, these offenses, we'll see. If you're one of those guys that loves good defense, you should watch this game. If not, you might want to watch this other game.
What's the weather in Iowa?
Oh, that is a good question.
Right? Are we missing something? Let's see.
Iowa City weather.
Okay. It's
65.
going to be beautiful.
Yeah, 65 and sunny, 1% of rain potentially.
They have no
It's a perfect day for some punting, man.
That they do.
It's a perfect day for some punting. But anyways, if you want to watch defense, watch that game. If you want to watch potentially some good offense, this next game, number 7 Penn State, you have higher Penn State at number 3 Ohio State. The first of these games where we'll get the Michigan, Ohio State, Penn States to figure out who is actually good starts this week in Ohio State. I know Penn State and Ohio State haven't played anybody, so they've probably been fixing up plays and schemes and looking at tape for 6-7 weeks now, if not since spring. Who do you have on this line?
Yeah. Ohio State's actually been tested a little bit. They're they're not a tough team still. Where the fuck is Lou Holtz? But
sound bites.
Ohio State is more talented than Penn State. We haven't really seen a whole lot from Penn State yet, other than them just beating up on, what's effectively toddlers and pads. I think Vegas is going to give a slight edge on a neutral field to Ohio State, which means at home, I'm giving Ohio State 5.5 points.
It is Ohio State -4.
I'll take it.
Say that essentially, yes, it is a little bit closer than what you think, but essentially it's saying it's a 1-point game, so it's essentially a pick 'em, and then they give the home field advantage. Interesting game there. It is game day. It is an early, I think it's 11 o'clock Central Time, which I think they're in the East, but early kickoff game. I don't know what I feel about this one. We're going to make our picks here in a second, but I don't know what I feel about this one.
It's a tough it's a tough question. Like we talked about, we really don't know at this point. Um, what Penn State is. I still think
Exactly.
they're good, but
I
you
think
know,
they're good. But we talked about this, like, right? Um, Last year they went 10-2 and lost to Michigan and Ohio State, and I think they won their bowl game. But like, does it fucking matter? Guess not. Like this is what they this is if they can't wake up for this game, they're never gonna wake up. Like they just it's just not gonna work.
let's see. I apologize, everybody. We're getting our
We're
bets
getting our
in.
bets figured out.
All right, I'm ready.
I think I'm ready. I think we're too close is a problem. All right, in the first
Nah,
game, just go for it.
yeah,
All right. First game, Bama -9.5. I have Bama for $300.
I've got Bama for 250. I
Think we already talked about this one a lot.
yeah, I just don't think Tennessee's offense is going to be any good.
Nope, I agree. I think the Bama front seven is gonna destroy Joe Milton, and then he won't be able to do anything, and then Bama's gonna be able to throw it or run it enough, and then yeah. Florida State -14. I am taking Duke here. I am not putting a lot of money, putting $100 on it. Um, just because that Duke offense is so good. I do think the Riley Leonard effect will be there. Like if he's not there, this might be a blowout because they won't be able to move the ball. I don't even know who their backup is. But if he's there, I think they will be within the 14. 14 just seems too much against that Duke defense.
Yeah, I'm taking Duke only because I think that 14-point line is a little inflated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would not be surprised if FSU went way above that. But for the sake of this, I'm taking Duke at 100.
Okay. Utah at USC. USC -6.5. I like that pick a lot. I like it because it's at 6.5, which a touchdown means I win. So I'm taking USC. I think this is a bounce back game for them. I know we talked about it. The defense, they have a formula to stop Caleb and stop USC, but I think they can have a bounce back game, try to figure it out. Caleb Williams throwing 3 picks, and like we said, is not that common. Has not been ever other than last Saturday. So I think they can bounce back, and I really like it because it's 6.5. If it was 7.5, I would take it the other way because I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but just enough for them to win comfortably ish.
Make it 3 times in a row. Utah, 150.
There it is.
That's an outright pick, too.
Oh, outright. Okay.
3 in a row.
Okay. Okay. Um, the Minnesota Iowa over under 32.5. I don't take unders because bitches take unders. Give me over the 32.5 for 300.
The only reason why I took over was because I knew he was going to say that. So I really do think that under could hit. And I want it to
Then
be
go
honest.
under.
I wanted to. No, I'm going over. I think Minnesota might push this over. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go over.
All
I
right.
bet 42 and a half. So or I guess 42 and a half. So I do think it's gonna
It's
be
gonna be
over
over.
32 and a half. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Um, Penn State at Ohio State. I got Penn State. I don't think Ohio State's play anybody. I think Penn State wins outright this game. I think this will come down to if Ohio State's defense is even remotely for real. They've been saying that for a couple of years. I think I haven't seen Drew Allar in the Penn State offense play any defense with a heartbeat really, but I think that side of the ball is going to decide this, and I think Penn State is going to win this one outright and cause chaos.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be close. I'm not gonna say a Penn State outright victory. That 4 point line, I think, is close enough for me.
Okay.
Um, where I think this game is a field goal, type of game, but I am going Penn State $200.
It is. Those are our picks. We have the same picks except for you have Utah and I have USC. Interesting, interesting. We won't have an O for, or if we, well, we won't have an, if we have an O for, yeah, we don't have an O for.
We can have an
Interesting.
over. We just
We
won't
could.
both go over.
We won't both go over.
Yeah, we could go one in
One in
nine
nine or whatever. Yeah.
collectively. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be
Which would
not
be
good.
real bad.
Ugh. Anyway,
We need that
uh,
USC Utah.
uh, I have been Eric,
And this was Berto.
and this was totally biased. Until maybe next week.